You're now listening to the most dangerous sound. Hosted by Lee Alexander the Great. You've heard the verse, but this is the hook.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your boy Lee Alexander the Great. Welcome to another episode of This is the Hook. So glad you guys can stop by. And as always, we got a lot to talk about. How was your week? How's everything been? I know I'm a little late on this one, but nonetheless, we gonna make it happen, Captain. Man, sheesh. For me, it's been good. Thank you for asking. Just changing things up a little bit lately. Mainly just working on my health, really focusing in on that and getting a lot of things in perspective. I did kind of slack off that time. That's one thing I noticed. I didn't know how much that whole pandemic time frame affected me until I was looking at it in retrospect. It was like I fell off. You spend your whole life like working and moving, and then you finally get a chance to sit down because you don't have a choice but to sit down, and you tell yourself initially, yo, man, this I deserve a little chill time. But then you find out that chill time turns into, almost an addiction to just sitting still, and it's a hard thing to pay attention to, You try to move, but then you're not moving as much as you probably would had you had the opportunity to make moves. I don't know. However you put it, it was just once I realized that there was really some things that needed to be paid attention to. It might need my weight, I don't know, just started dealing with it, and I feel a lot better for it. So as the journey moves on, I've been doing pretty good. I mean, I've only been like working out regularly for like the last 2 weeks. I did manage to lose about 23 pounds with intermittent fasting and just, 5 days a week, just getting to the gym, changing my diet a tad bit, not too much, but just, not pigging out has really been helping for the most part. But so feeling good. That's me in a nutshell. But besides that, there have been a lot of things in the news and over social media that I want to talk about. I'll start with the most recent one. This is something that is going to come to fruition in one way or the other today. Today being Tuesday, it is 12 a.m. on a Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. And just heard this news, so I want to get into it. We got a couple front page news type things. I'll be going forward, backwards. So a couple things that I saw that I wanted to mention. I will throw these things out there, and then I will talk to you about them as soon as we get back. All right, so see you in a second.
Ain't getting nowhere else. It's what's going on. Holla at me. Content is key.
Former President Donald Trump says he believes he will be arrested tomorrow in connection with hush money, the hush money case that's being weighed by a New York grand jury now. Right now, there is no evidence of an arrest coming, but sources say another star witness could appear at the request of Trump's legal team to refute earlier testimony. Sources tell CBS News that attorney Robert Costello, the former legal advisor to ex-Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, could be called before a grand jury to discredit Cohen's testimony today. The Manhattan District Attorney is investigating alleged hush money payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels on former President Trump's behalf by Cohen. Now, Trump's legal team says his predictions are based on media reports and not any communication from the Manhattan District Attorney's office. Over the weekend, Mr. Trump called for a protest and urged his supporters to, quote, take our nation back.
It's what's wrong with this man? I don't know what's wrong with him, because in one hand you have somebody who came into a political arena with no prior political experience and was able to hold one of the highest offices inside of this country. You have that. Now, I am not going to disregard that. That's a feat. If it was something that anyone can do, anyone could have done it. No one could have done it. No one could have. This is not an anybody type of person. I'm not going to make that man less than what he is. But I'm not going to separate his achievements from the fact that it's even more amazing because he's an idiot. He can't be on one hand, but at the same time, this man has no actual proof. And he has said that today he is going to jail. And not only is he just going to go to jail, he is willing to drag down as many people with him as possible. And anyone who shows up, if this is even remotely true, if there are any type of protests, or there are any small groups of people who had the ability to just jump up and immediately run out to protect this man, they all deserve to go to jail at this point. Because if you didn't catch what he did the first time when he lost the election and everyone was at the Capitol building, which he said that he was going to be at, you have got to know that he is playing you, man. Like, he is not. If he was going to jail, the district attorney would have known that. Like, everybody's like, what? Where'd you get this information from? He just made that up to stir up people. He's going to get them to rally behind. If he gets anyone to rally behind him over an assumption, something he heard online, oh man, you got to question that person. If you are a person in that person's life, you got to question your relationship. You got to question whether that's somebody you really want to be around. Not because of who they're following, but why they're doing it. Like, why would you try to stop somebody from arresting a man who is obviously guilty of something and put yourself in harm's way? And that's one thing you have to remember. During those Capitol attacks, those weren't single childless members of society. Those were people with daughters and sons and wives and husbands, and they believe in that. So much so that they were willing to put themselves in harm's way. And you have to question a person's mentality when they do stuff like that. I think that's really weird to do. Like, there's something you got to check out within yourself when something like that goes down. So I'm just saying, if whoever goes up there, I'm gonna look at them strange, like, because that's a weird thing to do. They were talking about making a moat around his Vigalago complex. Weird stuff, man. just weird stuff, man. Like, I don't get it. And then what if they go over there? Hold on. Okay, they go over there. They rally the troops. Everybody's around with their MAGA hats on and their flyers and their Confederate flags, and they're all around there. and the police never come because there was no indictment. So like there's no reason for them to be there. How long will they stay there? How long are they going to stay there? Like, is it until he say, "Hey, you guys can go home"? Like, what's the thinking in there? Like, if he's crying wolf. Even if he was, it even makes it worse. If he was actually going to be arrested today, I would have to question what type of leader he is if he's so willing to toss people in the line of fire for the sake of not going to jail. Instead of putting lawyers in front of him to beat or deal with a possible case, he puts civilian people who he's not going to bail them out of jail. He's not going to hire lawyers for him. He's not going to visit him in the hospital if something bad happened to him. He's not going to send. Do you think he sent money to the lady in the Capitol building that got shot? You think somebody sent money her way? Him specifically? I doubt it. It's a strong possibility that you're being played. But that's you. You do what you got to do. And I'll let that go. But in other news, I saw this and I was really wondering about it. Like, so there was a story about 4 individuals who went to Mexico, and 4 of them were kidnapped, 2 of them were killed. And since then, the cartel in Mexico actually just gave up the people who did it and gave a note. But you ain't got to take my word for it. Let me let you hear what the news says, and then we'll talk about it right afterwards.
Mexico tonight, where Mexican prosecutors have now filed charges tonight in the kidnapping of those 4 Americans, 2 of them killed. And today, the striking image, they lined up the suspects. Matt Rivers in Mexico City again tonight.
Tonight, for the first time, a look at 5 of the men authorities say kidnapped 4 Americans in northern Mexico, killing 2 of them. Each allegedly members of the Gulf Cartel. They were captured not by authorities, but apparently by the cartel itself. Thursday morning, next to this pickup truck, on the windshield, a note purportedly from cartel leadership. "We have decided to deliver those involved and directly responsible," it reads, referring to the kidnapping. Shortly after the 4 Americans crossed into Mexico last Friday, they were attacked. The FBI investigating this video reportedly showing their abduction as it happened. Driven around for days, they ended up here. ABC News obtaining this video of the crime scene where the Americans were eventually found. Bloodstains still on the floor. 2 victims, Latavia McGee and Eric Williams, found alive. 2 more, Shaid Woodard and Zindell Brown, dead. Their bodies now back in the U.S. for burial.
And David, all 5 of those suspects now officially charged with aggravated kidnapping and homicide. David?
All right, Matt Rivers in Mexico City. Matt, thank you.
So when I heard this, my first thought was, that's never happened that I know of. Like, why did they do that? First, why did they kidnap them? Secondly, why did the Gulf Cartel give them to the police? My only assumption is that they believed it would be bad for business. Americans killed by cartel members on Mexican soil could be bad for business. That's one thing. It does affect. And if and the sad part about it is that if these were 4 white people, and I hate to bring race in it because I kind of believe that there has been a surefire sign that the public outrage is metered on race as it pertains to how we respond to things that happen to certain people. Now, they were Americans in general, but I believe that the outrage and also the coverage would be a lot bigger if these individuals were of another hue, so to speak. But it's a really sad thing. And even after this fact, we did see that the Mexican president making statements about how, Mexico is safer than America, and, people should still come there, because that's a big deal. Around this time during spring break, a lot of people do want to hit Cancun and go to Mexico, and they want to go to these areas where, people normally go during this time frame, especially the newer generations coming up, and they heard about it. Now they want to go do it. And a lot of these places are showing themselves to be not safe. Not just Mexico, even Florida recently, there were like multiple people shot in multiple occasions during spring break in Florida. And people were coming out and saying that, I think it was the chief of police there, I think it was, that was saying that, we don't even want spring break to be here. And, they wanted, they put it, implemented a curfew. They also stopped the sale of liquor after, I think, 6 p.m., curfew at 9. They just basically shut it down. And I think we're probably seeing the end of that possibility, because a lot of places are recognizing that a lot of impoverished places, people who don't have the means or the capability of getting large sums of money, the only people that are going to these places are people with large sums of money, or even the perception of having large sums of money inside of these areas will make you a target. And it's starting to be something where I heard somebody talking about, not even somebody at Godfrey, I think his name is Godfrey. He's a comedian, also has a podcast, and Godfrey We Trust. Shout out to him. He was talking about how he got letters sent to him from Africa where he normally goes to visit, and they were saying, hey, don't come down here right now, it's a bad look. And I think that that's something to really keep in mind when it comes down to going to different places and doing different things. You have to really know what you're doing, where you're going, why you're doing it, and you have to consider the concept and or the repercussions of putting yourself in dangerous environments. I believe that the 4 individuals that went down to Mexico were going there to get prescription medicine, which is a fact that a lot of the prescriptions that we pay a lot for here are a lot cheaper over there. This is my understanding of what they were doing. So even still, and you would think with 4 people, you'd be safe. Like, it ain't like you went down there by yourself willy-nilly. They obviously had an idea about what they were doing. And still, and that's just not, it's not a cool thing. And the thing about all of this is that it's always been dangerous. It's always been a risk going into another environment, especially when there's a large possibility that, or not a large possibility in some places, but there is always the possibility of you getting stuck there. Grinders, one of the examples of that. Things that we believe to be not that important. In other places, they are very important. You may think, hey, going here, party time, and poverty's all around you. And you're like, yeah, I'm just over here, I'm just over here to have fun and this, that, and the other. And you in the wilderness and there's wolves and they hungry. And you got to be very careful about that. I think a lot of people disregard how violent and how crazy this world actually is. And if there was a reality check there, I think a lot of people would be a lot safer as far as their movements. And I'm not saying that they weren't safe, and I'm not blaming them, because the truth of the matter is you should be able to go somewhere and not have to worry about getting kidnapped. But the truth of the matter is it happens. It happens in our country. It happens outside of it. So there's no real way to be completely safe, but the safeguards should be in place. And if anything, that's caution is what these type of situations are showing or should show people. And there are things you can be cautious. There are things that like that you should be cautious about, but as it pertains to things that you probably shouldn't be cautious about, nice little segue into the next situation that I wanted to talk about, and that would be Whoopi Goldberg's apology over a comment that she made, over a statement, not even a statement. Let's just say it was a word that she used. The word was gypped. And anybody born prior to the 90s know what gypped, even people today know what the word gypped means. But she was made to apologize for this, and I'm going to let you hear the clip, and then we'll talk about it right afterwards.
You know, when you're a certain age, you use words that you know from when you were a kid or you remember saying, and that's what I did today, and I shouldn't have.
Whoopi Goldberg is apologizing after using a derogatory term on Wednesday's episode of The View. The actress faced backlash for using the word while describing how some Donald Trump supporters felt after his loss in the 2020 election.
Criminal charges against you-know-who could be coming any day now.
After facing criticism from viewers online, Whoopi shared a video message via the show's official Twitter page.
I should have thought about it a little longer before I said it, but I didn't. And I should have said cheated, and I used another word, and I'm really, really sorry.
The slur is considered to be racist and derogatory towards people of Romani heritage and culture, with it deriving from the word gypsy. Now, Goldberg's latest apology comes after she faced backlash over some comments she made about the Holocaust last February. The panelist was suspended from The View for 2 weeks after commenting on the Holocaust and the role of race in the genocide. In response to that, Whoopi released a statement to Rolling Stone saying, "I'm still learning a lot, and believe me, I heard everything everyone said to me. I believe that the Holocaust was about race, and I am still as sorry now as I was then that I upset, hurt, and angered people."
Look, I'm going to say it like this. Completely unnecessary. That's so completely unnecessary. There are so many reasons why you could cancel or suspend somebody, but if you're using the word in the context that it was written in a dictionary, it's a large possibility that she was using it the way she knew to use it. There are a lot of words that are derived from things or people or certain types of people. That's one of them. I don't think that in any case she should have had to apologize for anything. And she definitely shouldn't be suspended. Like, what's that about? Now you got to go sit down like you in class? I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Certain things you just kind of, certain things ain't that. How fast was that? Who was listening to her words and was like, oh, that's crazy. And who took the time out to cite their outrage over that particular words? It's amazing. It's amazing how people are willing to go like full in on somebody over something that small. I mean, and I don't think it's, I won't call it small, but you understood two things. That is a normal, inside of the black community, that is a normal word. We don't know that it came from gypsy. Didn't know it until recently. So the truth of the matter is, there's no way she was using that thinking of Romanians. There's no way that she was saying that with a Romanian person in mind. Now, yes, educate her. Yes, if you feel a certain way about it, you educate her, let her know, hey, that is something that we don't like hearing. Bet. Now you don't have to worry about me saying it. I didn't know that. And then she could have came up and was like, I just got educated on the fact that the word gyp has something to do with gypsies and is a derogatory word when it comes down to Romanian people. That's it. Now she's educated other people with the things that she's got from a situation she had no clue about. But it's not like she didn't, like she knew it was an inappropriate word prior to. And that's after her years of living. That means she went her whole life and never once thought about taking that word and putting it together and concocting some weird thought process and using it with the intent to hurt or to put somebody down. That is weird. That's weird that the world we live in is there for that. But like I said, that's something that people will push up and have something to say about really quickly. But when it comes down to things like the 4 individuals that were murdered, the 2 individuals that were murdered in Mexico, it gets light communication out into the public. There's no outrage there. There should be outrage, not only by the American people, but there should be outrage by the Mexican people, because they should be saying, yo, first off, you are messing with our pockets. When you do stuff like that, people don't want to come over here. They make a lot of their money, American money, off of American people, American tourists coming into that area. You start kidnapping and killing people, they're not going to want to come. That's just it. No one wants to go somewhere where they got a possibility of getting murdered. That's crazy. But where's the outrage about the deaths of those individuals? Where's the outrage about the fact that there isn't much being said about the circumstance? But as soon as somebody says a word, all of a sudden, you got word police ready and willing to make sure that you can't say that, and they will cancel this person. But I'm not seeing the picket signs on the borderline. I'm just saying that's might be something you want to think about. Moving right along on to things that don't make much sense at all. Let's talk about Jussie Smollett. Back in the news again, years later, but he's not in the news. It's the brothers who attacked him or staged the attack on him. They're telling all. They got docs on YouTube. They got interviews. They're going out. They are reenacting the actual skit. And I want to know why. I want to know why. That would be the first segment, that would be the first conversation in the segment I call Why You Do That.
We were the ones that did it.
Yeah, it was us.
Extra with an exclusive first look at Jussie Smollett, Anatomy of a Hoax.
It was a crazy scene that Jussie put on. He even said,
I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I've been accused of.
I'm like, dang, you ain't your mother's son, buddy. Because this dude
better get that birth certificate.
Right.
And a new interview with Bola and Ola Osundaro's attorney, Gloria Rodriguez. Why did they agree to carry out this attack for Jussie in the first place?
Jussie was their friend, and they didn't want to betray their friend. And so at the end of the day, it was their trust that was taken advantage of.
I was down to do it because if we do this for him, he could probably help us out with our careers.
Jesse was someone who could really help their career. And beyond that, he was their friend. The documentary goes into great lengths about their feelings and how they felt when Jesse asked them to beat him up.
Hitting Fox Nation March 13th, the series goes into timeline detail about the attack and how Jussie choreographed the whole thing like a script that he was directing. And the brothers take us back to the scene.
This is where we waited for Jussie to come before we attacked him. After I threw him to the ground, I used my knuckle and gave him a noogie to give him a mark, to make it look real.
That's where I came around with the bleach, the infamous bleach in the hot sauce bottle.
Okay. So they go on to talk about a lot of stuff, and I don't want to give much time, honestly, but I say why you do that, but in my mind, I know why that you do that. It's a light shine. And I think that, honestly, the situation has been over, and they trying to cash out on what they can cash out on. And, I mean, you get your money, boo-boo, if that's what you got to do, but honestly, it's not a good look, man. It really ain't. And there's nothing to be gained from it. I mean, they say that they were doing it because they thought that he could further their careers. And if that was the case, then shutting up would have been the best situation to be in. Showing yourself loyal, because you ain't a friend. If they were friends, they would have suggested that not happen. They would have really been like, hey, that's not a good look, man. You got a good thing going for you. Just keep doing that. You'll be straight. There's no reason to falsify information, blame somebody. There's a possibility that you might get caught. Then what do? So they're not friends. They definitely ain't his friend. And on top of that, you can't be nobody's friend when you turn around and try to profit off of like his demise as it pertains to being out here in the world doing what he was trained to do. It's gonna be damn near impossible for that dude to get in another movie or a TV show. Things like that, man, they could set you up for life. And this dude done jail time. He didn't even die on the show. He just was gone. It's a lot that you're dealing with that situation. But why put coals in the fire? Unless in the back end he like, yo, we'll make your money. Maybe that's the situation. Maybe he like, yo, man, go ahead and get what you can get out of it. Cause ain't nothing there for me. I'm not gonna get nothing out of this. I'm not gonna work again. I mean, I just don't. I mean, I hate to even see him not work again, not have opportunities. But that is the consequence of that. You know what I mean? Like he literally got on stage, went on shows, and not shows, but I mean, went in front of cameras and just lied about something. So you can say, yeah, I guess he gets what he's supposed to get, but at the same time, man, I mean, that's salt on a wound for real. I just don't get it, but I don't want no friends like that. I don't want no friends that would put me in a position to do something that might backfire just for attention. You know what I mean? Because what was going to happen? What was going to actually happen from that? We're going to make a big scene of it. We're going to do this. It's choreography. Dudes giving people nuggies and bleach and hot sauce and nooses and all this other stuff going on. What happens when the police are looking for these imaginary people? Now, it's not like it hasn't happened before. It's happened vice versa. But normally somebody goes to jail, does 30 to 45 years before they find out that it wasn't true. But I digress. I hope the best for the whole squad, but It's not looking good, and I don't know what they think they about to gain from this, but it's not going to be a good look. And speaking of people doing things, and it's not a good look. Check this
Another
out.
tragedy in the air has been prevented when a man allegedly tried to open an external door and stab a flight attendant. Some of the other passengers knew they would have to take action in a move that evoked memories of those passengers on September 11th who kept Flight 93 from striking Washington. These brave travelers fought back. Stephen Fabian has details.
We're hearing today from the brave airline passengers who took on a madman mid-flight.
I'm taking over this plane.
The nightmare began 5 hours into a United flight from Los Angeles to Boston.
I will kill every man on this plane.
33-year-old Francisco Torres began ranting after he allegedly tried to open an emergency exit door.
Tell them to bring SWAT to shoot me down because they're going to have to shoot me down today.
He was getting louder, kind of twisting in a seat.
Lisa Olson was seated 2 rows in front of the crazed passenger and captured the terrifying cell phone video that the whole world is watching today.
I don't care if I'm scared of him. I don't care.
The guy in back of him was trying to calm him down, ask him his name, ask him questions, but he seemed to be getting, more irritated from that.
Since I'm taking over this plane.
He jumped into the aisle, brandishing a broken metal spoon, and headed for the cockpit, lunging at a flight attendant.
But the passengers on this plane were not going down without a fight. Courageous men and women got out of their seats, went after the madman, and took him down.
First this guy, then another, and this woman, and more right behind them. They keep coming. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They secured Torres' hands and feet with zip ties.
That person was subdued and is being detained right now. However, not going quietly. He's just laying there with 6 able bodies on top of him.
Was there a sense of, hey, we got to band together and get control of this guy?
It was amazing to see that, all these men were just, they didn't hesitate. They just jumped right in.
What do you think about the way passengers on this flight handled this situation?
Oh, that was excellent.
Alfred Burgess is a retired air marshal.
The passengers, they did what they needed to do, and I have to commend them.
Let's roll, come on.
Ever since 9/11, when the heroes of United Flight 93 confronted the terrorists with the now legendary fighting words, "Let's roll," airline passengers have been stepping up in emergencies. In this case, the flight landed safely, but it could have been a different story if these brave citizens hadn't stepped up to the plate.
That guy was trying to get killed. He was trying to get killed. What he ended up catching was an ass whipping, which is what he needed. My question is, what were you going to do if that door opened? And like I said, you can't really wrap your mind around these type of things as it pertains to like what a person's thinking in these situations. And there definitely needs to be an evaluation of his mental stability, guaranteed, because things like that don't pop up overnight. There's gotta be some history of mental dysfunction inside of that guy's life. I can guarantee you. There's no way he was just a regular human being and something just popped up and he snapped on a plane. His intention was to do that. And he said it, he was ready to die, or someone was going to have to kill him. And it's no different than suicide by cop. You put yourself in a bad position expecting a certain type of outcome. And I just think we need to, I think that we as a country need to upgrade our psychiatric area. The way that we deal with people with mental illness. We really do need to be able to see signs and have functioning processes and procedures for dealing with these things. We have procedures for everything. We know what to do when somebody don't pay their taxes. We got action for that. We got action for people who murder people. We got action for people we want to put in jail. We got actions for everything. But the mental stability is the biggest issue, because if we are paying attention to those type of things, we can stop them before they happen. We can be really preemptive with these type of circumstances, but we aren't, because we're not paying attention to the right things. These are things that people should know about or be able to see and say something about and be able to put people in crisis in the place that they need to be in so that they can deal with those issues. But a lot of people are getting put in prisons. A lot of people are and if they haven't committed a crime, then they're just out on the street. And some people don't need to be walking around willy-nilly when they have problems like that. But I mean, you can't get your ass whipped. I mean, because I think people generally want to go where they're going. They want to get back to their homes, and they don't want to have that type of problem. And that's a scary thing. That's traumatic for the individuals, even if they did survive, because it's not even about what happened or what could have happened. It's not about what happened. It's the possibility of the thing that causes trauma in itself. You don't have to be in a shooting to not frequent and place. You just don't. All you got to do is hear about it. I go back to the Mexico thing. Ain't nobody trying to go to Mexico right now just because of something that happened to somebody else. Imagine all those people who are already nervous about being high in the air in a box, flying across states. And now they got to deal with the trauma of the fact that while they were on a plane, somebody took a sharpened spoon out and tried to stab people with it and was trying to open up the doors and trying to get into the cockpit. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot, because if you are not scared of flying prior to, I guarantee you, post-flight, you are going to not want to fly because of a situation like that. And you can say, oh, well, it was an isolated incident, but that's not necessarily true. People are constantly getting put in positions where it's unsafe. Fights happen on planes. Remember the dude got duct taped into his chair because he was wilding out? All type of stuff happened over all type of things. And it's like, man, there's got to be some type of vetting system. You don't want to live your life in fear, but at the same time, man, nobody want to deal with that crap. Nobody's interested in dealing with that crap. People want to be able to go to a place, get on a plane. It's already hectic just going there. I got anxiety just being. I was going from Atlanta to Ohio, and it was just too many people just walking around, just back and forth. And there wasn't no lanes, wasn't no lines. It was just people everywhere. And after, dealing with a pandemic, and you come out of the pandemic, and then boom, now you in an area with a whole bunch of people. Oh man. Oh man. That is not it at all, man. There ain't nothing that would frustrate a person more than being, and I'm talking about crowded. And nobody everybody's got a destination or a place they're going or coming from, but it's just, you've probably been in the airport before. It is madness. And after being inside and just, really having a lot of space, not really having to be around a lot of people on a regular basis, and then going straight into being around what seemed like everybody. Oh my goodness. I couldn't wait. Y'all can't even express how many times I just want to turn around and say, man, fuck it. I don't even want to do this. A lot. It happened. The whole time I kept thinking I could turn around right now. And I believe the first day I did. I didn't even get on the plane. They laid me over so many times. I was like, I'm not staying here all night. I'm going home. I'll do it tomorrow. It was annoying. It was annoying. Oh man. Whew. Anyway, shout out to them people for, standing up and making sure that, and that needs to be the new norm too. That's another thing that needs to happen. People need to recognize that when you there's two things that need to start happening. People need to recognize that certain things aren't going to stand, and if you do certain things, there's going to be a consequence to them. It's like some of these videos where guys come in, try to rob somebody and get shot, or try to break into a home and catch one. Like, these things need to happen. Especially when it comes down to, like, even the younger generation, man, y'all better start snitching. Y'all better start telling on these cats that's going in crowded areas and shooting at people. If you know who did it, you better say something. Because it'll be just that time that you allow that person out. The next time it might be you to catch one. You know what I mean? So you got to be real careful about that. Letting these people, like, slide on by and no, I ain't going to say nothing, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. The police got to do the job. Okay, it's your community. It's where you live. And if you can't sleep comfortably at night because bullets is flying by your head, if you can't go out in public and guarantee that you're going to be able to come back just because people feel comfortable doing weird shit around you, it stops being their fault. It starts being your fault. It starts being your fault for allowing people like that to just run around and be free when they shouldn't be. Like I said, you allow them to do it just by not saying nothing. And that's a big issue inside of the African American community. We know people that's doing bad, and we don't want to see nothing happen to them, but they don't have no concern for nobody else. Obviously, if you shoot in a crowded place because you got a problem with somebody, knowing that you ain't took no gun safety classes, you ain't never been to a shooting range, you don't know if you're gonna hit the person. Every time I see a video of somebody shooting, there is no structure to how they shooting. Gun all sideways, they shooting one hand over their face. I don't even know why they do that. It's weird. And they just shooting randomly. Don't never barely hit the people they trying to shoot. It's terrible. Somebody always end up getting shot that ain't got nothing to do with it. They just riding down the street. Bullet come from some gas station or something and hit them. They coming back from work. That person get away. Now they looking for him. You know who it was. You seen the video and you still let him anyway. All I'm saying is, man, these are things that need to happen. People need to start recognizing that there are going to be consequences. There are going to be things that are going to happen to you when you do something like that. And I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe he thought he was going to get shot. Maybe he thought the air marshal was going to be on the plane and was going to get up and shoot him. And instead, he was going to be like, yeah, I'm going to get shot. But first and foremost, an air marshal is not going to use a pistol on a plane for real. Not unless he absolutely has to. And if he does, please believe it's going to be just you. Because it's an airplane. It's a pressurized tube. You can't shoot on a plane for real. You know what I mean? So if you do die, it's probably going to be from a chokehold. Like, it's going to be bad for you. That ass whooping is exactly what you need. Now you going to go to jail. And I guarantee you're not getting out, man. Like, that is not a slap on the wrist. That is not a slap on the wrist. You about to go to jail, and you're going to be in there for a while, buddy. You're going to be considered, and they going to hit you with some terrorist type shit. It's not going to be good. You'll see in a couple minutes when they come back up, start talking about what they ended up doing to dude. It's going to be real bad. And that type of stuff happens, man. Yes, that's exactly what happens. So I hope it was worth it. You know what I mean? I hope it was worth it. And they're going to put you on suicide watch when you get in just to make sure you don't get a chance to die before you get a chance to catch them years. It's not going, and you might not be built for that time. You know what I mean? You might not be built for that. And if they don't trust you stable mentally, they're going to do you worse. They're going to sedate your ass. So that's just going to be what it is. So you ain't going to have the energy to do that to yourself. So hey man, pray for you. Hope everything work out for you, but you caught what you need to catch, and that's something that happens. But moving right along, I guess we've come into the area that I love to talk about, or we came into the portion of the show I love to talk about, this would be called the relationship.
And the first thing I'm gonna ask you lot is, would you delete your social media for your significant other? Right?
No.
Say, all right. You jumped in no way. Go on.
Because I sing, I do music. I need to promote myself.
Okay, what if it wasn't like business related? What if it was just like you just have your personal account, you post whatever, like typically what women post, and your guy was like, you know what, I'm not really feeling that. I feel like it's not making me feel comfortable, and I need you to get rid of some of the content, or if not the whole account. How would you
You're
feel
up
about
in
it?
your feelings. You need to calm down, my friend.
Why?
You're moving mad. My pictures, I want them online.
Why?
They're cute. My friends like them. They post purr, honey. I love it.
Let me ask you this: is your account open or private?
Mine's open because I am an artist.
Yeah, but I'm saying, okay, so your account's open, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say for argument's sake, if it was a personal account, it'd be open, I would assume, right? So when you post pictures, everyone's got access to them, right?
Mm.
Yeah? So if you post what typically women post or girls post online, it might like seem like you're advertising to next man.
I would
Do you get what I'm
consider
saying?
going private. I would consider that, but I'm not deleting the whole account and deleting pictures.
What if like it was like pictures, like, okay, if I was to go on your Instagram account right now, would it will be like wholesome Little House on the Prairie pictures, or would it be like suggestive, maybe sexy type of provocative stuff on there?
A bit of both.
A bit of both. So if
Mhm.
your guy was like, you know what, I don't like that kind of sexy stuff, can you get rid of
Then
it?
you don't like me. You need to accept it.
What do you mean that he don't like
You met me like that.
I was
You
gonna
met
say
me
that.
sexy. You met me with those pictures.
So the conversation is basically what I grasped from what I was hearing, and there's a lot more to this conversation. This was one that MTR was on, Mediocre Tutorial and Reviews. Shout out to him. And what I grasped from it, the idea was, would you be willing to give up the social aspect of your single life while you are in a relationship? When you are in a relationship, and the thing about it is that people come into relationships with the idea that we are not coming together. I am me, you are you. Let's see how this works out. And some of the things that, and if you listen to the conversation, I might even play a little more of it, but one thing that an older lady inside of that panel was talking about, where she was saying, you know, you go into relationships and you talk about these things that you're not willing to do, and she was like, if you're willing to die on that hill, then, you know, fine, but, you know, you could be missing out on a reality, and you're willing to miss out on a good reality for the likes and the hearts and the comments that come to you through social media. And it's a dangerous thing, because people will be looking at what you put out into the world. And when any of these individuals who have the capability of, which everyone does, but when it comes down to it, a man's always going to vet these type of things. He's always going to want to look at what a person does, who they are. And a lot of times you can find that when you put yourself out there like that online, it's visible not only to the person that's vetting you. Jobs do it now. When you go into a job, they'll start it. You can come in with a suit and say, hey, I'm perfect for the job. But the question is, what are they going to see when they are led to look at what you really are when you're not at work? When people go on your social media and they see certain things, it makes, and you say, oh, that's my personal life, but it is your personal life. And I think that when you are in a relationship, there are certain things that should only be for the person that you're with. And with the conversations I'm hearing about these women and this whole high value man and wanting these, they have all these traits of men that they want, and I'm noticing that they're not becoming the type of person that is capable of holding these type of people and keeping these type of men, because everyone says they want a high earning masculine man in their life as it pertains to women, speaking about men. And I don't think that any of these individuals who are saying these things but are still willing to say, I refuse to remove myself from the lifestyle of a person that is single, are ever going to have the ability to actually function inside of an environment where you are held accountable. The things that you do, you will be held accountable for those things inside of that relationship, because it not only makes you look bad, if I can just be completely honest, it makes the person you with look bad. And when you put yourself in that, when you show yourself in a light, you will get the likes, but you will also put yourself in a position to where you will not be able to function inside the very environment that you say that you want to function inside of. It's very hard for you to be two things at once. You can't be somebody for the streets and then simultaneously say that you want to be a wife, want to be the type of person that a man comes in and respects. You can't be both of those things. It's completely impossible, because you're either going to love the one and you're going to love the one and hate the other, and because one's going to hold you back from the other. You're incapable of doing both. And I know a lot of people say, well, I can do both. I believe that's selfish. I believe it's selfishness, because when you put yourself in a position to where what the person that you're with thinks about you is less important than what people who you don't know think about you, if you do that, you are showing that person who you actually are. And to say I can't let that go because that's a part of me. Why should it now? Also, I'll say on the other end, there were some very good statements in that conversation, and I will try to put a link, if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, I'll try to put a link in the description of the actual conversation, because one thing that was also said was that you're absolutely right. When a man says, I would like for you to change this, and a female says, but you met me like this, that's absolutely right. Because if men were actually vetting women and actually looking at the facts of who they are, how they present themselves to the world, if that doesn't align up with what you perceive that a person should be, you don't pursue that. And if you do pursue that, you have to understand that that's what that person is going to be. I always have a problem with the idea of being with someone and them being away and then switching what they are after the fact, because I'm automatically going to say, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I had. This is not what I came in the game with. Why is this progression or this transformation to being this thing so visible now? Now, if let's say she was a wholesome person, she didn't have a whole bunch of sexually explicit content on her pages, and she wasn't going around doing Instagram and TikToks with a bra on and shaking it to music, and you know what I mean. If she wasn't doing all that before, and then she all of a sudden started doing that, then that, you got to question that. If she was doing that, then you got to question that too, if that's not what you want. So I don't think she's wrong for saying I won't want to do that. But you get what you get how you act. You're gonna get the type of things out of life that you put into them. And I've been hearing a lot of questions. I mean, a lot of statements about people talking about, hey, you know what I mean? They would be a wife for the right man, and the combat to that conversation is always going to be either you are preparing yourself to be a wife or you're not going to be a wife. If you're prepared for everything but being a wife, if your whole life is surrounded around doing everything but, then you'll never be. And it's just, that is what it is. Now you could grow, and if you're young and you get the opportunity to learn how to be, and if you haven't been shown, there's a large possibility that you could learn. I'm not saying it's impossible, but when you get older, man, it don't have the same shake to it. You can't. There's certain things that you're not going to be able to unlearn, and wanting that type of status when you haven't prepared yourself for that type of status is only setting you up for failure, because in the long run, you'll get in a situation, and once you've accomplished everything you want to accomplish, you won't know how to keep it, because you will assume that you sacrificed something to be in something. And when that thing looks bad, you're going to revert back to what you actually are or what you actually want to be. And then you're in a worse position. So I think that if I'm saying anything, vet these women, vet these men, have the conversation. What are your expectations? What do you believe that we can be? What are you trying to be? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? All of these conversations are things that should happen. I'm not saying that I've had these conversations, but I haven't been in very many long-term relationships in my life. As it pertains to, dating. I was never really in a dating game in my life. I married young, and I never really got out there like that. But I will say this much. I can tell the difference in the person who wants something. I can tell the difference in a person who is attempting to falsify information in order to gain what they perceive to be a higher status, and people who really want it, because it's always work. It's always work. It's never really an easy thing. When you look at the problems and the circumstances that come off on any level, it don't matter whether you got money or you don't. Relationships are hard in general, and they take time, they take patience, and they take a willingness to grow out of some old things and grow into some new things. There's a process there, man. So it's not something that you can easily just say, oh, I do it or I did it. I hear a lot of, specifically women, and I never got that. Women will pride themselves. A woman will be married for 13, 14, 20 years, and you'll hear her online, and she'll be like, well, I was married for 20 years, and what happened? Something happened, blah, blah. You fill in the blanks. And that's not a success story. That's the thing about it. The success is not in the fact that you were able to say that you were in double digits with marriage. The success is when the commitment has been fulfilled. When life has naturally brought you to a point where you've lived your life with that person, and the death do you part is the thing that comes. It's not a success if you quit. It's not a success if it's just not. And I think we need to stop glorifying the idea of someone saying, well, I've been in relationships for long periods of time, and I don't know people's circumstances. I'm just saying that if If your intention is to be for the streets, don't act like you want to be a housewife. You're only playing with other people's time. Then you start having children. Now you're playing with their time. It's not even worth it. It's better just to go ahead and just say, nah, I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, so one of them city girls, I forget her name, I remember the conversation. She was talking about how she'd never get married because she think men cheat. And that was it. I can respect that. Don't put yourself in a position to be, it was Diddy's ex-girl or whatever. I guess they had an open relationship. And maybe she got tired of it. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is, I can respect it. If you don't want to be that, just say you don't want to be that. If you for the streets, don't look for the respect and for the accolades of a person who is for a relationship, and don't down people who do it. Don't expect the same type of respect that a person who devotes their life to their family gets, because that's not the respect, or that's not the respect that you're looking for. Because if it was, that's where you be. Excuse that. Moving right along, I think ultimately, let's just get to the moment of Zen, and then we end. I don't know what that is. So today's moment of Zen is this. I would say just know who you are. Know what it is that you are. And, like I just heard recently, move towards the mastery of being the best version of yourself that you can be. It is the intent of people to attempt to do things, but it is the mastery of a thing that makes people special. And I'm going to tell you, like I heard, I want to pass this word along. Work towards the mastery of who you are, what you are, where you are. You don't need to be the greatest at anything, but mastering something that you are will bring you closer to who you could actually be. Bring you towards the greatest version of yourself, which is what we all aspire to be. Some people do inspire to be other people, but you can never be somebody else. Be the greatest version of yourself. Find out whatever it is that you are, whatever it is that you do, and be the very, very best at that particular thing. And a lot of the things that you want in life will come to you. It might not just necessarily be money, but fulfillment and understanding, a greater understanding of the things that you do. They all come from the process of mastery. And that's what I heard today. And when I heard it, it blew my mind, because it didn't require me to find something new. It required me to look at myself and decide what I am and who I am, and take those things and take them to another level. It took all the guesswork out of who I was supposed to be, because I knew what I was good at. I know what I am. And so by me knowing who I am and what I do, my only concern should be in mastering the things that I am. And that made the most sense to me. As I would pray for things like understanding and vision and seeing where I'm supposed to be. And I feel like the answer was just be the best version of yourself and find a way to be better at the things that you do, whether it be the editing or the organization of the podcast or the research. I just get better and better at what I do, and I think you probably should want to do the same. So, that being said, that is your moment of Zen, and of course, at the end, just remember, I love you. Hey everybody, it's your boy Lee Alexander the Great, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. I did too, but just wanted to stop by to let you know, don't forget to go to thehookpc@gmail.com. That is thehookpc@gmail.com to send in those emails and send in those questions and those comments and concerns. If you have something that you want to speak about from today, I'll backtrack a little bit just to make sure we get it all in together now. So until then, again, I say be great and I love you.